Here we are, perfect day. I've been looking for the Messiah. That's right. Not just a religious Messiah, but a secular Messiah. And guess what? Couldn't find any. I looked under the rocks, looked around, climbed the tree, went down to the lake, couldn't find a Messiah. That seems to be the major issue that faces most people today. They're looking for answers in one or two human beings, as if everybody has all the answers. You know, there are people with religious beliefs, there are people with secular political ideologies who follow the teachings of a particular individual, as if that individual is capable of processing human existence and coming up with an answer. And that's what we're finding as far as our federal elections are concerned. The federal election, which will be held in May, will be reduced to a contest between two people: the leader of the Liberal National Party and the leader of the Australian Labor Party. It'll be a head-to-head contest. It'll all be about smoke and mirrors, all about the cut of the cloth, not about policies and ideas, because the postmodern world and the technological innovations which have occurred in the postmodern world demand that one individual has all the answers. Did Adolf Hitler have all the answers? No. Did Buddha have all the answers? No. Did Jesus Christ have all the answers? No. Obviously there are many people who think they had the answers, but they don't. Did Marx have all the answers? No. There are people whose presence on earth had a major impact. They didn't have all the answers. What sets human beings apart from every other animal on the planet is our ability to work cooperatively for the benefit of the individual and the benefit of the group as a whole. It's a give and take situation. The current kerfuffle regarding vaccinations highlights the neoliberal philosophy, which has reduced interaction in society to a competition between individualism, where individualism takes precedence over the health of the community as a whole. And we see that in all aspects of living in the 21st century, and to a significant degree, that particular philosophical, ideological viewpoint has been at the forefront of a neoliberal agenda which concentrates power and wealth in fewer and fewer hands, but gives the illusion that the individual has ultimate power. Concepts like the sovereign citizen, concepts like unlimited rights, tie in hand in glove the 17th and 18th century ideology where one human being could own another human being, where the life of a person from a particular caste was worthless in comparison to somebody who exercised power and who had acquired wealth. And the struggle around the world, in various parts of the world, in every corner of the universe, has been that struggle. to break down the power which is wielded by fewer and fewer people. What technology has done, it has been able, whether it was a printing press initially, whether it's the World Wide Web, whether it's instantaneous communication, what it's been able to do, it has been able to reduce complex human interactions as nothing more than the thought process of an individual. And if people follow their particular viewpoint, their particular path, their particular ideology, their particular interpretation of the universe, their so-called interaction with some type of supreme being, then all human problems can be solved as long as you follow to the letter that ideological position. We saw what that occurs with the Marxism. We saw what happens with the centralisation of power. We see what happens with religious fundamentalist groups, where they and their guru or their messiah are the only ones that have the answers, and everybody has to fit that ideological pattern. But the thing is, it's not just a matter of religious, it's also a matter of economics. Today we have the no other way movement. There is no other way but neoliberalism. There is no other way but private investment for private profit. And we've seen the fiasco in this country and around the world as the world grapples with a pandemic, where corporations which have developed vaccinations using public resources and, more importantly, publicly held knowledge, now demand copyright on their so-called inventions. I mean, this is the price of a rampant individualism which takes no account of those around us. The difference between us and an animal is the fact that as human beings we are willing to make sacrifices, not just for the good of our immediate family, but for the good of society as a whole. So, if you're looking for a messiah, or if you have a messiah, whether they're secular, whether they're religiously orientated, tear up the rule book. Nothing good comes out of following the rule book. A rule book which has been written by individuals who have limited interpretation and knowledge about the earth and the people in it and human interrelationships. No human being has all that knowledge. And to think that some type of supreme being is guiding us, or some minuscule minority is pulling the strings, I think to a significant degree highlights the fact that we have lost that collectivist edge. We have lost the idea of society. I mean, neoliberalism is based on the concept that society doesn't exist. It's just a matter of individuals brushing against each other. And when they talk about freedom to exploit, freedom to remove a minimum wage, freedom to remove regulations which protect people, freedom to, manipulate people through their control of the means of production, distribution, exchange and communication. And the list goes on and on. So if you're looking for that messiah, I encourage you not to join public interest before corporate interests. Because we're not looking for messiahs. We are looking for people to work together, to come up with possible solutions to many of the issues we face in this country in 2022. And those issues we have in common with people around the world, but we have specific issues which we don't have in common with people around the world. The specific issue of reconciling with this country's First Nations people. The specific issue of all our mining resources being held in the hands of a few individuals and corporations who use those resources which theoretically belong to all of us through the Commonwealth of Australia for their own personal use and fortune. Have you ever thought when you wake up in the morning, maybe you don't, but have you ever thought, this is a very rich country, irrespective of the geographical limitations and climate emergency? It's a very rich country. We have 25 million people on a continent. So why are we beset with all these issues and these problems? Where 1/3 of the population lives on social security benefits which barely make ends meet. Where over 1 million children live in poverty. Where we have private charities raising money to send children to public schools. Where we have such high numbers of people who are suffering from anxiety and depressive illnesses. It's not all genetic. To a significant degree, much of the anxiety and psychological issues that people face today are related not just to their interfamilial relationships or their personal relationships. They're also related to the type of work people do. They're related to the type of income support they have. They're related to the constant pressures that the World Wide Web places on all of us. They're related to a significant degree to the society we have become. So, most people in Australia today think that it's their personal failings because of the childhood they experienced, the education system they experienced, their own personal shortcomings. And we have this huge self-help industry which is based on the concept that if you put your mind to it, you can resolve every issue. Everybody can become Prime Minister. Everybody can become Governor General. Everybody can become a billionaire. Well, obviously that's ludicrous. And to a significant degree, much of the anxiety and tension felt in individuals and relationships can be directly related to the type of society we have created. A society where you have no disposable income, you have no options. And that's what private investment or private profit is all about. It's about options. And in a capitalist society, options are determined by disposable income. Whether you can have a holiday, whether you can buy this or that, whether you can afford a better house, or even to get into the housing market. And to a significant degree, the anxiety caused by this is directly related to the type of society we have become, where we have allowed individuals and corporations the ability to dominate our lives, not just economically, but socially and culturally, where we are conditioned to think that the other is responsible for all our problems. It's either us or the other, the asylum seeker, the Aboriginal, the Torres Strait Islander, the immigrant. They're causing all the problems. The people on temporary work visas. And this is the issue. It's either us or them that are causing this anxiety and tension. And the reality is much deeper. For example, look at the Senate Select Committee on the Pacific Island labourers that are being brought across to this country to work on this country's farms. Look at the way they've been exploited viciously. And this is supposedly a civilised country, where for a week's work after deductions are taken out for transport and accommodation and food, people are left with $100, if that. No wonder Australians don't want to work as labourers in the agricultural sector. So to a significant degree, the types of tensions we feel are beyond our control. We may be able to modify them through therapy and medication, but ultimately what has caused them is the inequalities that exist in our society. What has caused this tsunami of psychological issues among the Australian population is a symptom of the deregulation, privatisation, globalisation, corporatisation agenda which has been pursued willingly, not just by the 1% that own the means of production, distribution and exchange and communication, not just by the 8% that have disposable income and take advantage of this country's investment-friendly laws, but by all of us. Well, most of us, not all of us, most of us, because we have believed the messiahs, the neoliberal messiahs. We have believed the way forward is through atomisation, individualisation, through breaking social links, by pitting individual against individual. We have forgotten the reason we have developed to such an extent. And it's not because of competition, it's because of cooperation. And public interest before corporate interest was formed to foster cooperation, not just on a political level, but a cultural level, and a social level, and an economic level. What we can and cannot do, obviously, is limited by finances and numbers. But if you're interested in pursuing an agenda which is based on cooperative behaviour, not competitive behaviour, an agenda which is based on breaking down hierarchy, an agenda which is based on breaking down the neoliberal philosophical straitjacket that we have found ourselves in. Though I encourage you to seriously think about joining public interest before corporate interests. Ultimately, change comes through hope. Hope is the love child of desire and expectation, the desire for change and the expectation that change will occur. Cynicism, bitterness, anxiety are all the nemesis of hope. If you let those emotions dominate your life, then nothing will change. For you, for your family, in the places you work and live, and most importantly at all, in society as a whole. Think about it. You do have options. You can accept the need for a messiah, or you can create your own universe where there is no need for messiahs, because collectively we can tackle all the problems we face today in this country and around the planet in the 21st century.